this video, we're going to do a little exercise together to make sure that you fully understand and can create objects as well as move them and position them in Unity. So here we are again in our custom default layout that we made, and we're in an empty scene here. And let's review here real quick the two ways that you can create a game object. The first way is to go up here to your File tabs and click on Game Object. And we're going to go to Create Other. And then over here in our list we see our different game objects. So I'm going to create a cube. That drops the cube into our scene view. Zoom up on it a little bit so we can see it. The second way that you can create a game object is to go into your Hierarchy panel, and right here under where it says Hierarchy there's a button that says Create. If I click that button, it gives me all sorts of different objects I can create. About halfway down we have our group of primitive game objects. So here's our cube. This time I'll make a sphere. So I'm going to click here and it drops a sphere. Now you'll notice in our Hierarchy panel that we should have a cube and a sphere and our camera. Whenever it creates an object, it puts it at the 0, 0, 0 point, or pretty close to it, in the scene. So the sphere is actually inside the cube right now. So the sphere is our currently selected object. We know that because it's highlighted in blue, and in our inspector panel it also shows the sphere. We're in our move mode here with the move button, so we have our X, Y, Z arrows. So I'm just going to pull this circle off to the side so we can see it. I'm going to grab the X arrow here, click hold with my left mouse button, and I'm going to pull it up off of there. Okay? So there's a sphere and a cube. I'm going to also go ahead and create a capsule. Again, it's going to put it right here in the middle, so I'm going to push this one off to the side. So now I have a capsule. Let's make one of each of these types. Go down the Hierarchy again. I'll do a cylinder this time. Let's drag that cylinder over here. And last thing, we'll make a plane. Here's our plane. Now, a plane is just like a sheet of paper. You can see how it just kind of pops in and out of view here in our game view as I drag it up and down. It's just like a sheet of paper. No thickness to it, just width and depth. Okay, I can move that around as well. These are the 5 primitive game objects that we have available to us in Unity. And so now for your assignment and your exercise, I want you to arrange these in several different ways just to get used to manipulating objects, moving things around, and navigating inside of Unity. So we're going to make sure the plane is positioned right in the center. So to do that, I have to get it to where it says 0, 0, 0 up here in the transform position for the plane. So again, we can just click in here and type in numbers. So now our plane is going right through the 0, 0, 0 point of our 3D world. And then let's make all of our objects sit right on top of that plane. So you can see where it starts to disappear as you go down in. So we're just going to sit that right there. Okay, so we're just going to select them. We're going to pull them up so that they're just sitting right on top. Just kind of try to get it. Let's see if I can get that sphere. There it is. Right there. Alright, so take a minute and try this out yourself. See if you can get your objects all in a line next to each other. You'll notice that they're all in a line along the x-axis here, like this, and that they're all sitting on top of the plane. Next assignment, or next exercise, is going to be to see if you can put these in a line along the z-axis. So again, sitting on our plane here, but let's see if we can line them all up along the z-axis so they're all in a straight line going down the z. So let's leave our cube where it is. Let's get our sphere here. Now, you can either eyeball this by just making sure you're looking at it right from front, so you might want to click on this to get a true front view. Let's get this flipped around. Okay, so you'd have to get it exactly head on with your view, and then you could center this right up inside the square. That's one way you could do it, but an even better way to do this would be to type the numbers in up here in your transform. So perhaps we want to get a little bit more of a top-down view. Let's angle this a little bit so we can see it a little better. And there's our sphere. Now, if we click on our cube, we can see the cube is not quite positioned where maybe we want it to be. So let's change it to 1 on the x, just to make it easy. If we put it at roughly a 0.5, that will make it sit right on the plane. Because remember, the scale of this is 1. This is 1 unit high. So if it was the 0, 0, 0 point of any object is its center. So the center point of this cube would be 0.5 units up, 0.5 units from the side, 0.5 units in from the front. So if I put it at 0.5, that means that it will be sitting right on that plane, which is at 0, 0, 0. All right? And then for z, let's just go ahead and put him on 0. We'll start him there. Okay, now for our sphere, if we want it to line up behind the square or the cube, then we want to make sure its number matches on the x and the y, so it's in the same xy coordinates. Remember, x goes across like this, y goes up and down. Let's rotate this a little bit more so we're seeing it a little more head on. Okay, so we want to position it so it's the same spot here and here, so it's centered, and then we're going to push it further back into our scene. Okay, so we've got the circle, the sphere selected. We know that the cube is at 1 on the x, so we'll change that to 1. We know it's at 0.5 on the y, so we'll go to 0.5 there. And then let's go ahead and push this to a 2 on the z. So now our sphere is sitting right in front of our cube. Okay? So now let's move the capsule. If I select the capsule, again, I need to put it at a 1 on the x so it matches up. And then I want to make sure that it's sitting on the plane. Now a capsule is 2 units high by default. The scale is still 1, but it's a 2 unit high. So if I put the y at 1, that makes sure that it's sitting right on the edge of our plane. And then I just have to move it forward on the z. So if the x is at 0 and the sphere is at 2, let's make the z here 4. And if I rotate my view down, you'll see, okay, there they are. They're all in a nice straight line, and we're going along the z-axis. How do I know we're going along the z-axis? Well, blue is our z color, so the z-axis is right here. It's this line that's coming right out through that arrow. All those are lining up along the z-axis there. All right, now we're going to take our cylinder and we're going to move the cylinder so it sits at the back of the line. We want it back here. So I'm going to click on it. Again, if I put its position at 1 on the x, that puts it the same as all the others. A cylinder again has a height of 2. So if I put that at 1 on the y, it will set it right there so it's lined up. And then this time I got to change the z. Now this is at 0, the cube. The sphere is at 2. The cylinder is at 4. So what would I have to put the cylinder at to get it behind? Well, we've been adding 2 to get it to come forward, so if I subtract 2 units from where the cube is, it should move it back behind it. So let's try doing a negative value here. Let's do a -2, and you can see that -2 did push it back further away from us. So that goes to demonstrate something to you here. On the z-axis, positive numbers move objects closer to the front, because we're looking at this from the front here. Negative numbers will push us towards the back or further away from the screen. So here we go. We managed to line up all of our objects in a line along the z-axis. If you haven't been doing that along with me here, then pause and take a few moments and get this all lined up. Make sure that you can do this. Okay, one last exercise that we'll do here with moving our objects around just to get us used to navigating in here. This time, let's stack them up along the y-axis. So we're going to put them one on top of each other like they're a totem pole or a column of some sort, and we'll just stack them all the way up to the top. So let's keep our cube on the bottom. So let's take a look at him again. And this time, I would like you to pause and see if you can stack these all up along the y-axis, one on top of each other like a pillar. And after you're successful, or if you have some trouble with it, then come back and watch how I do it. Alright, I'm assuming that you were successful, and if not, let's walk through it together. So here we are, we're looking at this mostly from the front. So we can see all of our objects here. We want to stack them on top of each other. We're going to leave our cube here alone. So let's leave him there. And then next let's put our cylinder on there. Okay, so we're going to have to move our cylinder up and forward so he matches up. Now we want him to match up on the x coordinate and on the z coordinate so that they're together right here. So the x coordinate for our cube is 1. We want that to be the same for our cylinder, which it is. On our cube, our z coordinate is 0. On our cylinder, it's a -2. So let's change that to a 0. That lines them right up. So now you can see that it's coming right out from the center. Now all we have to do is raise this guy up. So you can either click and grab the little green arrow, which is our y-axis arrow, and pull it up until it gets right up on top like that. Or if you come over here, you can click in the box and add a 2 on the y. This guy will be sitting, our cylinder will be sitting right on top of our cube. So there they are, that's their start. Alright, next thing we'll do, we'll go ahead and put our capsule up here. Again, we got to make sure it matches up on the x and the z, so they're right there next to each other. It's matching on the x at 1, but the z is a 4. I want that to be a 0 there. So now it's overlapping that same space. And again, I can just click and pull up until it's sitting on top. Or if I come over here in the y and put a 4, that will also set it, so it's just sitting there. So there we go. Move that down. Alright, let's just put our circle on the very top. So I'm going to click the circle, match it up, 1 on the x, the z should be 0. And then on the y, we can either just drag it up on top like so, or if we put this at a 5.5, it will sit right on top. So there we go. We have now stacked these up right exactly on top of each other, and have made some crazy looking column here out of primitive game objects. It's important to be able to line things up in Unity and to position them precisely, because when you get to building complex scenes and putting in buildings and streets and props and lights and all those things, you have to be able to get them in the correct place in relation to one another. So now we've had plenty of practice in making game objects and placing them where we want them to be in our scene, so we're ready to go on to the next lesson.